Maybe you've heard it's hard to be a Christian. Why is it so hard? That's what we're going to look at again today. Hi, my name is Scarlett, and I'm an atheist and skeptic, and recently I decided to look at Christians talking about why it's so hard to be a Christian. Last week I looked at Frank Turek's response to a young Christian. And I want to be clear, I'm not interested in poking fun at these young individuals sincerely asking such a question. As snarky as I am really not interested in mocking them as individuals. I'm simply interested in the mindset they exhibit and how they're manipulated by the belief structure proposed by preachers and other thought gurus like a Frank Turek. And in that video, it sounded to me like Frank Turek was saying it was hard to simply know God exists, and that is on purpose, because if it's hard to find God, we'll appreciate it more or something. No pain, no gain. And today I have a short video from someone who is just an individual on the YouTubes like myself, not an apologist or preacher like Turek. Like our curly-haired friend talking to Turek, this person seems sincere and trying to find her way in the world. But I warn you, the video we're about to watch is why a thing like Poe's Law exists. I almost wondered if it wasn't parody. It's so over the top, using stock videos that are laughably exaggerated. Look, I don't have a lot of room to criticize people over visual choices. I myself create silly, colorful tapestries of strange animals talking. But hey, they are my own. But looking at this channel, it is not parody. Just Her+Christ is the name. And the video is called I Quit, all caps, 2 exclamation points. Being a Christian is hard, more exclamation points, and an anguished emoji. And there are all kinds of Christian tags over it. Chosen ones. Or is that chose nuns? It's probably chosen ones. Jesus, and so on. As of my recording, it doesn't have a lot of views. This is a small channel after all, maybe still trying to find its groove out here in the wild world of YouTube. So, with that blibbity blab out the way, let's start.
The warfare intensified once I started getting on the social media platforms. Once I started getting traffic to my YouTube and TikTok, but mainly YouTube, it seemed like the enemy turned the fire up 7 times hotter.
So you can see what I mean by the over-the-top visuals. Is that woman having a heart attack? Anyway, I'm curious about what this creator means by the warfare intensified and the enemy turned up the heat. It's mean streets out here in the back alleys of the social medias. Look, I understand how negative comments can discourage people, but I'm also wondering if there weren't legit questions and issues that were raised. Who knows? This is very vague. Let's keep going.
I'm not gonna lie, it's been hard, and I've had moments of questioning whether I should continue, whether I should remain on this path. But I know that when the attacks are coming rapidly, that means what I'm doing is working.
I really want to laugh at these visuals. That devil is just incredible. And is this an ad for a revival of Cats? Still don't have any idea what exactly this creator experienced, what these attacks were. People may have made sexist or racist comments. They might have called her stupid, or they might have simply asked questions. I just don't know. But I have to say, just because people attack you, that doesn't make you right. The Galileo defense only works if you are actually Galileo. If you're actually right, I guess. People might actually be telling you you're wrong because you actually are wrong.
The enemy is big mad because I am being obedient to God, and I am no longer walking in my flesh, but I'm walking in the Spirit.
So I guess the enemy is Satan? We are imagining Satan wants to tempt people away from God for some reason. Very mystical, right? Anyway, here's another woman who looks like she's having a heart attack instead of actually being tempted by Satan. And, just to be clear, we are always walking in our flesh. Without our bodies, we can't actually go anywhere. Now, I know that this is metaphorical language and it's supposed to communicate that when God is with us, we aren't tempted by sins of the flesh. He doesn't want us having all this fleshy stuff like drinking and sex and all that kind of stuff. But I actually think it would be better for Christians if they made peace with their corporeal selves instead of demonizing them. Like, try to find ways of living with the flesh instead of thinking that everything is bad. God created all this stuff supposedly, and yet there's so much of it that's bad. Anyway, let's keep going.
I am no longer living a life of sin, but now I'm living a life that is pleasing to God.
How did you exactly determine that? How did you even determine God exists? How did you decide that sin is a real thing and not just something that people made up to control you? How can you know you're in the good graces of this being who doesn't even manifest in any way? Anyway, these are just some of the questions that I'm thinking of.
And you may also be suffering as well. And I know it's hard. There was another man that got on TikTok, and he mentioned how he just lost his job. Out of nowhere, they fired him. And he was mentioning also what I had said about how hard it was getting now that we are actually on social media and spreading the good news. We're motivating and encouraging others.
Okay, so clearly this is supposed to be motivational, like others might be feeling whatever it is. I still don't know. I'm not quite clear. It's very general and vague and could be anything. And to add to the unknown, we've got this story about some anonymous guy that lost his job because they fired him out of nowhere. I'm assuming it's just the manager or whoever, but saying it this way sounds more conspiratorial, like he was fired by some force for no reason, or maybe because of his Christian beliefs. Maybe Satan caused him to lose his job. I don't like this vague language that's slightly accusatory. And to be clear, sometimes people have been told over and over again things they're doing wrong, and they just refuse to accept it. And so even though it might come out of nowhere for people, actually they have ample warning. So who knows? We don't know anything about that guy. We have no idea what this story is about, if it's even true. It's just some random anonymous story on the internet. But this guy also thinks it's hard to share the good news on social media. I'm starting to believe it must be hard, you guys.
Things were just falling apart in our lives. And many times when that happens, we want to go the opposite direction. But I want to remind you, when God sent Moses to tell Pharaoh to let his people go, that was scary in the beginning for Moses. He didn't know if he would be able to do it because he didn't have the best speech. So God allowed his brother Aaron to go with him.
What things are falling apart? What is actually being talked about here? Again, vague, vague, vague. I guess because it's encouragement, it's just supposed to match any situation. Any time that you feel down or sad or you're in a moment of failure, you're just not supposed to give up on being a Christian. I guess that's it. Like, maybe you're being tested, maybe you're not, maybe it's the enemy, maybe it's not, but okay, so I guess that's fine and everything. And I suppose Christians are like Moses. By the way, what happened to Moses in the end? Did he make it to the land of milk and honey, the promised land? No, because God had him die before they got there because he had a moment of doubt at one point or something. Also, Moses didn't exist, nor did Abraham, so there's that. Let's just watch this till the end now.
But God believed in Moses, but Moses didn't believe in himself. And so many times we're questioning ourselves. Can I keep doing this? Am I good enough? God, this is too much. Ever since I obeyed you, it's gotten harder. That's what the enemy wants. He wants you to give up. He wants you to stop because it's working. So I want to encourage you, don't give up. Keep going, keep fighting, and keep pressing. We're going to make it. Be blessed.
Yeah, keep going, y'all. Like this little girl playing a video game in the flesh. I guess video games are okay for Christians, right? Doesn't matter what kind they're playing. I don't know. So like I said, I don't want to make fun of this content creator as an individual. I'm sure somebody's going to accuse me of doing that anyway, but I really don't want to make fun of her. I get that she's chosen these over-the-top visuals to create more interest and really drive her point home. She actually seems pretty smart, and she has a nice delivery and writing style. I don't think this is someone trying to be tricky or deceitful, unlike some of the apologists I've talked about. But what interests me is the ideas that she has bought into. That if you get pushback in life, on social media for example, that is the enemy, Satan, trying to discourage you. It's not other individuals, all with their own individual motivations to comment. And we don't know from the video what the comments even were. It's true, there are some people out here who will just attack individuals without addressing the content. People do call each other stupid, or some variant thereof, or ugly, or all kinds of things that have nothing to do with what you're actually doing that don't address the content. But there may have been real questions or critiques of the religious thinking that people think is criticism of them. I don't know how we can have honest conversations if one side thinks that your critiques aren't even coming from a human place. I also find it disturbing that people think that they're being tested or discouraged by Satan in general. The suggestion that some anonymous guy on TikTok maybe lost his job due to interference from Satan or Satan testing him, or I don't know, whatever that story is supposed to be alluding to. I just have to say that Yahweh in the Old Testament took everything away from Job. Satan was just chatting with him there at the beginning, trying to while away the hours of eternity. God, the perfect being, took the bait, the bet, and the bait. And then God also kills his son in the New Testament. So go tell me who is more likely to do things to try to discourage you, God or Satan. Satan didn't do a lot of taking stuff away from people in the Bible. And isn't it interesting that Just Her+Christ says it got harder when she first started obeying God? What a curious connection. How do you know it's Satan testing you and it's not God? I don't know. I'm way off track for this. My issue is simply the magical thinking of this video, that there are vague, malign forces out here trying to trip you up. This is not a recipe for coming to understand what is true or likely true and making decisions based on what can actually solve problems in the here and now and help people. And this is really common in Christianity, that there are demons out here trying to interfere with people, that you have to go fill yourself up with the Holy Spirit in order to be good or not to sin, or I don't know, whatever the thoughts are on this. This feeds into the idea that atheists can't have these things because we are not filled with some Holy Spirit. We don't go fill ourselves up with the Bible or church or whatever the belief structure is that fills you up with whatever good spirit. So, we must be out here just wanting to sin. We allow ourselves to be tripped up by Satan. Maybe Satan doesn't even bother with us because, we're already going to hell. I don't know. But none of this is tethered to reality. None of this stuff actually does anything here on earth that makes this life any better or gets in touch with how we can be better people doing better things on earth. And the last thing I'll say on this is that this is just so far from my own experience. Even when I was a theist, I did not think that there were demons and devils running around messing people up. It was just a physical world, and it's true, people can be bad, mean, cruel, but they can also be really good and nice. It's just people out here doing stuff for their own purposes, and we have to figure out what those purposes are, deal with what is really happening, and not thinking that there's some magical overlay that's doing all of it. Well, that's what I have. What struck you? Put it in the comments below, and you know the drill. While you're down there, like, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. May Algorithmo and his consort Algorithma bless you with many, many good YouTube recommendations. And if you like what I do, you can also buy me a coffee. That link is in the description. Thank you to everyone who buys me a coffee. My kitties really appreciate it. They are enjoying the kibble very much. And that's all I have. I'll see you next time. I don't know for what, but it'll probably be stupid. Bye for now.